Hey there, what's up, friends? How we doing? Adam here from the Freight. Hope you guys are all doing great. I wanted to come at you today and talk a little bit about the Beatles Anthology release, the new recording of Free as a Bird and Real Love, which will be coming out soon. Um, and I wanted to give you my take. And I know the YouTube community may or may not be sick of videos about this. Um, but I have to be honest, I don't want to cater what I talk about on my channel to like other people's reactions of like, oh, we're sick of the Beatles or oh, we love the Beatles. Um, I want to be more honest to myself and like my loves in music, especially with this channel. So I want to talk about how I feel about this release, what the anthology has meant to me, why I think it's important, and what I think about the new Free as a Bird 2025 remix. So I guess that's probably a good place to start. I have all my original Free as a Bird formats here, the 45, the CD single, the single there. I have them all from that, back in 95. And I first want to talk about in 95 when this came out. I was 15 years old. I was firmly entrenched in my love of the Beatles. Even then, it was my world. It was almost, maybe not exclusively what I was listening to, but it was a majority of what I was listening to and playing and learning on the guitar and singing and just being immersed in was the Beatles at that point in my life. And then I remember they announced the anthology, and I remember being like, oh my God, this is like, holy smokes, right up my alley. And there was a buzz around everybody talking about it. And there wasn't a lot of hate, you know what I mean, about the anthology. It was a lot of love. And I know for people like me who were, very entrenched Beatles fans, there was a lot of love and anticipation and excitement. I remember sitting in my parents' floor in the living room when it aired. I remember the countdown to when it started. And I remember, the opening scenes in Liverpool and showing them as babies. And it was, I can't even describe the feeling. That's how much the Beatles mean to me. That's how much of a Beatles fan I am. I'm not like a casual Beatles fan. I am, unabashedly. People knock it all they want. Some people love it. Some people don't. Whatever. I am one of those Beatles fans that it's like it is in me. It is in my blood. The Beatles are an enormous part of who I am, both musically and kind of as a person. They've really shaped my world. I can honestly say that. And so when I sat down and watched this, because, no one had ever thought anything new was going to come from the Beatles. I certainly didn't. And then I sat down and I watched the anthology and I was like, oh my God. And then the countdown to the new Beatles song, Free as a Bird. And the video is just brilliant. If you haven't seen the video, the old video is brilliant. The new one's cleaned up even more. It is a brilliant video. There's so many Easter eggs of all these different Beatles songs in there. You got to really keep your eyes out. It's actually one of the fun things to do is to track how many different Beatles songs you see in the video alluded to. It's a wonderful thing. And I just remember like a melting feeling hearing John's voice in 1995 come through on a new song. And now I hear the new mix and I'm like, oh, this is this is pretty good. This is pretty good. And so, I get some people are nostalgic for the 95 version of Free as a Bird. I am too. I am too. And it took me a minute to warm my ears up to it, but it was literally only a minute. And then you realize just how much better this new 2025 mix of Free as a Bird is. It's incredible. I've listened to it several times now, probably a dozen times at least, and it's fantastic. It's clear. His voice is no longer down the hallway. Um, It's not layered with these weird digital effects. It's fantastic. It's beautiful. The instrumentation, I hear so much more of the instrumentation. Some little George guitar things that I never heard before. He's arpeggiating some chords in there. Really, really beautiful stuff. The new mix is fantastic. I don't know if you've listened to it yet. You can stream it and listen to it digitally wherever you want. There's also the updated video. So I encourage you to check it out. If you're familiar with the 95 version, it's quite a comparison. The mud that's been lifted off of it is incredible. Peter Jackson's Mal software machine, automated learning, whatever it is designed for the Beatles. It's probably the most creative name ever because Mal Evans is the Beatles roadie and sort of do all person. He wore every hat they had, and the fact that Peter Jackson gave the nod to Mal and called this new AI that's Beatles exclusive Mal is just such a beautiful thing because Mal deserved that. So anyway, that's my take on the song. I think "Free as a Bird," beautiful. Listen to it. It's really incredible. Now it has me excited for the anthology release. It really does. I don't think in my understanding, I could be wrong. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I don't think the whole anthology was necessarily remixed, like every song or something. But I do think a good portion of it was gone through, and maybe some of the early things cleaned up. I did listen to it streaming. I thought it sounds really good. What I heard, and again, I don't quite know what has been cleaned up and what has been left alone. But I just went back and listened to it on streaming just to see whatever is out there right now on streaming, and it sounded really good, and it was a very enjoyable listen. I haven't listened to Anthology in a while, and I listened to 1, 2, and 3. That's what's out there right now. They sound great, and they're good listens. They're good Beatle listens. I totally understand if the Beatles aren't your bag in this sort of in-depth way. You totally don't need it, and I totally get that. But if the Beatles are your bag, then yeah, this is awesome. The outtakes are awesome. The live performances are awesome. There's on Anthology 1, there are some fantastic live recordings on those first 2 discs. They're just great. They're awesome, awesome, awesome recordings. From radio shows, from the Ed Sullivan Show, outtakes from the studio. Beautiful, beautiful recordings. That was their energy. That was their essence. Was in the early Beatles. Those rhythm and blues songs that they were covering and that they were creating. Man, that's everything. It's everything. And I forgot how much I loved the Anthology when I went back and listened to it. So I get the hate because for a lot of people who aren't Beatles people, it's just like too much. But I'm okay with it. I did buy the LPs because I had Anthology 1 and 2 on vinyl. I had the DeAugustini reissues, and I just never even took the time to really listen to them. So what I did was I actually sold those to bring in a little bit of money because they were sealed. And I always listen to my CDs and digitally. So I sold those, and I bought the Anthology 4, the new one, to have the whole set with the number 4. So for me, it was a fine purchase. Like I'm good with it. I had a $50 credit on You Discover Music, so that brought it down $50 even more. So I think I got it for like $340 or something like that. So for me, I'm good with it. I'm really excited to see the new Anthology cleaned up, the video cleaned up. I think that's going to be great. I think if you haven't seen Anthology before, you're in for a real treat if you're a Beatles fan. It's fantastic. It's great. It's really, really, really great. It goes into depths that you want to see if you're a Beatles fan. And yeah, some of it's sugar coated, and some of it's the way Paul especially, but the way they all want the story told. But ultimately, you get the goods from the Anthology, in my opinion. And I'm very excited to watch the video as well. So I have that positive experience with the Anthology and with the new mix of Free as a Bird. I think it's beautiful. I'm excited to hear what it did for the other things. And I'm also, just as a Beatles fan, excited to watch the cleaned up anthology, the video of it, I think it's going to be really good. Now, let me flip it and talk about the negatives that I do see. I think the elephant in the room is, why didn't they just release them individually? That is such a valid point. They absolutely should have done that. They want you to buy all four, and that's BS. Like that's just a BS move by Apple. And cash grab. I don't know. I think Apple tries to be thoughtful, but they just miss the mark a lot, to be honest. So I don't necessarily think they would just try to cash grab. They have a lot of cash, and there's going to be no shortage of it. No matter how they release this, it was going to make a shit ton of money. So I don't know that it's just like a straight up cash grab. I just think it lacked thoughtfulness, to be honest. I don't know. I think that if they could do it over again, they probably would release it as like single options as well. And maybe they still will. Who knows? But yeah, I get it. If you already had the anthologies, you don't want the cleaned up versions. You just want, right. It's not essential listening for everyone. So I get why you would just want to buy four. Maybe they'll do it. Who knows? So for me, it's more positive than negative. It is. Is it the release I wanted? Not particularly, no. I would have liked Rubber Soul. But again, I didn't particularly love everything about the Revolver box or the Let It Be box or whatever. Like, I don't love necessarily the new mixes of Let It Be. Like, I like that we got Get Back with the Giles Martin version. That was cool to have that. And I also like how the analog mono came with the Revolver one, but the stereo mix was just meh, so there's give and takes with all these boxes, and who knows what they would have done with the Revolver box. Maybe they wouldn't have done something analog. I would love them to do like a stereo analog, a mono analog. Well, they already kind of did that with the mono box. I did get that, thank God. I'm really happy about that. But anyway, that's my take. I don't want to ramble on too much. I just want to say, for me, as someone who the Beatles is deeply ingrained with, this is a more positive thing than a negative thing. However, I do get the negatives. The negatives are not lost on me. For my individual situation, I'm accepting it. I'm accepting it, and it's okay for me. And like I said, I sold the other ones, made up some money there to pay for it, and I also had that $50 credit, so it brought the price down. So it was an acceptable thing for me, and it is something I'm looking forward to listening to. And I think if you give the anthology a chance, a fresh chance, and don't let all the negative in the video Beatles and VC community bring you down, it's a really good listen. There's some really gold gems in there that are awesome stuff for real Beatles fans. So this is a video for those Beatles fans like myself, and it's take it or leave it. I totally get it, both sides. I'm just sharing my experience and how I feel about the release coming up. So leave your comments. Let me know how you feel about it. There's a lot to unpack with it. So let me know how you're feeling about it. And I will see you in the next one. And if you haven't, actually, please like and subscribe. There's been so many new people coming on board. So psyched to see everybody. And more videos coming soon. All right. Peace.